Live, and we're live in Palmerston North in the Square because this is the 2016 Targa New Zealand, and I'm joined by, in this cool brisk weather, someone who's just hopped out of his car, and I've grabbed him, Glenn Inkster, and I've grabbed him, and I said, I want to do something different. I want to give the people watching some information that they don't normally get. Now, the reason I've chosen Glenn is threefold. In fact, it's 3 points. He is a cross-platform driver now. He's done the gravel rallying, he's done the tarmac rallying like the Targa, and he's had a blast on the circuits in an NZ V8. And that gives him a little bit of an insight that a lot of drivers don't actually get the privilege to do. But the stuff I wanted to talk to you about, Glenn, is actually car setups, because while I was driving way at the back, following you guys slowly on a stage today, I was thinking, how on earth do you set a car up for a rally stage when a guy on a circuit knows that he either wants more aero, or he wants more speed, or he wants more turn-on, or he wants this, but you guys don't know the track. So let's start there on how do you make a decision on what you're going to do for the day. In fact, might even help you a little more, because most people, when they speak to rally drivers, the rally drivers go, oh, my tyres were too hard or too soft, or I had the wrong pressures. And that's all we hear. But there must be other things for a rally car.
Yeah, for sure. Not so much aero, because we're not doing the speed.
Okay, that's that one out there.
Yeah, we go 200 kilometres an hour. A V8 Supercar does 300 kilometres an hour, and there's so much more wind force. I mean, you only know that if you're waving at 80 kilometres an hour, it almost takes your hand off.
Right, so let's move that from the equation.
Yeah, not so much aero, although they have wings, because you still got to give some downforce, but it's not as big a part.
Right.
Also with rallying, the window, you know, the setup window, whether it, and I guess a terminology for window is where it works, is a lot, as in how the car will work. Because you've got such a variation of roads, you need to have a variation of setup. It needs to be able to work like this, it needs to be able to work in the tight stuff, it needs to be able to work in the open stuff. So in a circuit car, if you have a 3-degree variation in track temperature, it can completely turn the car around.
Right.
And until I'd done that, I honestly would have said, what a load of crap. You know, like that, here they are telling me that the ground temperature, or the UV as it's now called, on the track can make that much difference. But when you've got a new set of slicks and you go out in the last test session, the car's fantastic, the track temperature raises 3 degrees, and you've got a car that just won't work, you have to be sitting in the seat to understand that it really makes that big a difference.
Okay then, so what you're saying is your previous time in the rally car, you would have ignored all of that.
Yeah, I got when I was in a rally car, my first gravel rallying
gravel.
I was predominantly a club level competitor, and ended it in the national championship. But by doing lots of years of club level, I was fortunate enough to be in a position where a car got bought that I used, but it was from Andrew Hawkswood, set up by Norm Sue, one of the fastest gravel drivers in the country, one of the best Evo 6s in the country. Now, I'm sure you can understand, who would I to get in that car and say, you need to change something? It's not at all. It's like the car's capable of it, the driver at that stage is not, get in and do it. So, whilst it was awesome to buy that car, it probably I didn't learn as much because I wasn't playing around with the setup. So that's when I went circuit racing, and now I'm lucky enough to have another go at gravel. You just realise just how important getting it right is. You know, like, you can be, I mean, we've proven it this weekend. Like, we went out, there's a bit of a problem sourcing some tyres, federal tyres is what we've used in the past. We had to use 4 softs and 2 mediums. I would have not, even before this event, thought that mediums could be so bad, and they are terrible. You might as well drive on your rims. And yesterday, I was worried that the moment the corner tightened up, we were going to spear off understeer, and in the last stage yesterday, we lost so much time just with chronic understeer. Now, a little bit of that is because we got the softs on the back, trying to look after them, because you only allowed 6 tyres, and of course, the other thing that circuit guys talk about, balance.
Yes.
Now, our balance was terrible. Like, we had no grip at the front, too much grip at the back, and the car just wouldn't work. So,
and that's part of the thing I wanted to get out of you, because we often, motorsport people who follow various forums, they always hear circuit drivers talking about their balance, and I've changed my suspension setup and my geometry, and I've done this and that, and you look at a rally stage and you think, geez, would doing any of that actually really make a difference? 100%. But you're thinking it does.
Oh, no, absolutely does. See, the thing on a circuit, right, is V8 Supercars on Pukekohe in a couple of weeks. Right? It's going to be epic. We know that. Shane Van Gisbergen go to the championship. Mega. But anyway, you'll watch them come around the first corner and you'll think they're just on rails, right? What's actually happening is both the front and the rear has a thing called slip angle, and it is actually slightly sliding. And when they get this balance and the setup right, because that's when you're sort of like absolutely on the limit, and the front and the rear are sliding at the same time, just by a little bit. You can't actually see it, but you can feel it. In fact, you shouldn't see it in the steering wheel either. You shouldn't have to do that, but you can just turn it in and you feel it. Okay. And it's no different in this, but the variation is a lot more.
Because you're already sliding anyway.
Not in this car, not in this car, but it can happen. But I guess that window is still greater, so you do see the odd oversteer or understeer. But our big thing since we started this event is working out the car balance, and even once we put the new tyres on and it transformed it this morning, I'd still come into every service and just give Norm some information to try and make it better, because obviously yesterday we were trying to cure understeer, and what the fundamental problem was tyre grip. So we fixed that, and then we had to back engineer the car because it had too much oversteer. It was actually okay and manageable in the dry, but the first pass through Martin, I know that stage because we've used it so many times now, and I was lucky I knew it because it was hairy. It was very hairy. We had a few way too fast, 160 kilometres an hour, a lot of lock because the back was stepping out. Yeah, so we tweaked the car, and then we tweaked it again, and now probably the best wet weather car, Targa car I've ever driven with those last couple of stages.
Yeah, well, see, you've actually opened up a lot there, and you will obviously do some suspension changes if you need to, geometry if you need to.
I think, I'm not the guru.
No, but you can in a rally car, and you do if you need to.
Yeah, not as much as a circuit car, because a circuit car is completely infinitely adjustable.
Yes.
In this rally car anyway, being based on an Evo 9 car, the arms are the same. Sure, there'll be some offset bushes in order to get a bit more caster. Once again, I'm not the genius that can tell you what that all does. But
you can.
You can.
Yes, and that's the point.
The genius is Norm, actually. Like, he's the one, you or I would look at a tyre. Are they worn? We hope to get through the event. That's good. Norm's looking at how it wears across the tyre, what the sidewall's doing. Are we got enough pressure?
Typical race engineer.
100%.
Yeah,
that's the most. Like my son is doing a seminar on jobs in motorsport, and he's not allowed to do the driver because we all know that it's a little bit kind of doesn't, it just doesn't happen for a lot of reasons. But there's so many people that are in motorsport, and when you start to, it's good. I start to sit down and explain with them. You've got this family tree. You've got the one driver, and then think of a Formula One team. How many people are there behind it? And honestly, more important than the driver is an engineer.
No, I do agree. I think you're right.
You just can't drive a car that doesn't work because you won't be fast. And then when you get pressure, like I was under a fair bit of pressure because listen, they had a few problems with the results yesterday, and by the feeling in the car and how many moments we're having and how on the ragged edge I was, I thought when we finally get the results, we'll be in the lead. And then I find I'm a minute 45. I'm like, what?
See, and that's all part of setup and a little
100%. So you don't want to put yourself under the pressure and then overdrive because you kind of got that package. So it's with experience, and I've made plenty of mistakes before, but you can try and just not overdrive. Basically make time when you can. Hence today Martin stage. I know it. It played into our hands big time because it was wet and damp, and we pushed on a lot.
Okay. So, in the end of it, what you're saying to those people there watching is that, yes, we can make adjustments. We do notice them. It's not aero. That was a big one I was going to ask about.
I'm not saying it's not, because just to put a fine thing on that, next year's WRC regulations are really cool with bigger cars and more wings, and aero does come into it. I guess what I'm saying is it doesn't come into it as much as circuit racing. Like when you've got the same engine regulations, suspension, same regulations, and you can get a little bit more downforce, you'll take it. So that's why they'll spend the money to do it. And cars run a little tiny splitter at the front. Like you'll see them on rally cars, black little splitter at the front. Well, Chris Meek was saying they've got to be really careful next year that that stays on, because the moment it gets wiped off, and you can wipe it off any corner. I mean, often when you're driving down the middle of the road, you wipe those things off.
Okay.
But he's saying when that goes, the aero balance goes. So not saying that it doesn't, just saying that it doesn't matter as much as, say, Formula 1, V8 supercars, that sort of stuff.
It's a heck of an insight, isn't it? I'm glad you could join us. We are live here on Facebook from Palmerston North in the Square. It's Parc Ferme for day 2 of 2016. And this chap here, Glenn Inkster, he's actually now leading. Shocking day yesterday, made up for it completely today, and he's leading the field. So that's a good thing. Thank you for giving us a little bit of insight into how the... oh, we've got a question from the audience. Question from the audience.
Kieran
yes, from
has asked, have you ever shat yourself when you come off the track?
Have you ever shat yourself when you come off the track?
No.
Probably not literally.
No,
Not literally, I don't think the question.
Yeah.
No one wants to go off the track, though, do they?
No. Often that is... firstly, you're a bit gutted.
Yes.
But more importantly, you get out and assess how much it's going to cost.
Then you shit yourself.
Yeah.
When you realise it. Any other questions from the audience there? No more questions. Okay. All right. So that's it. Look, that's it. That's our Facebook Live for this afternoon with the insight from Glenn Inkster. And as I said earlier, he is a man who's got a little bit up there now because he's done this cross-platform of gravel rallying, tarmac rallying, and NZ V8s on a circuit. Not many people can say they've done all that to be able to take all that knowledge, and there's probably, we could spend 2 hours getting all that sort of stuff out of his brain for us to take on board. But look, that's it for now. Tomorrow we go down Palmy Way, isn't it? No, we're at Palmy now. We head over Hawke's Bay.
Gentle Annie's.
Oh, so look at him. He's already excited. Gentle Annie's tomorrow as we head over towards the Hawke's Bay. Goodbye for now, and we will see you tomorrow.